Hello everyone. My name is Hiroki, and I work for Unity in mainly Tokyo office. And today I'd like to talk about how to removing the repetition in Unity, and then how you optimize your workflow with a graph-based visual tool. Okay, so the tool that I'm talking today is called the Asset Graph, and this tool was once called the Asset Bundle Graph tool. We originally developed this for the asset bundles, but later through your input and feedbacks, we found that this tool is far more useful than just building the asset bundles. So we decided to go deeper and develop the additional features so that it supports the general asset workflow now. So the Asset Graph is an open source C# tool, and it is currently available on Bitbucket. And then you can, this is an open source tool, so you can just go in and you can just do like any hacks that you like. And then this is node-based, the asset workflow building tool. And then the purpose of this tool is to reduce the coding to build the workflow around assets, asset importing, modifying, build assets, asset bundles, those things. So when you're in production, I believe that you're writing a lot of asset post-processor. And then this tool is basically trying to remove a lot of work and a lot of tailor-made scripts that you write inside your project. And also, this tool is built to work together with Asset Bundle browser, which the Asset Bundle team has built as a separate tool, so that you can use this Asset Bundle browser to actually visualize like how you set up the asset bundles through these tools. Okay. So before going to the details, that I want to talk that like who is this tool for? And I built this tool for the technical artists and programmers who build the asset workflow and around the build asset bundle build pipelines. So so this is not exactly for artists, but the like whoever want to optimize the workflow, and then whoever want to like automate and like streamline your workflow. This is the tool that you can use. Also, I made it as easy as possible to see like how the asset is being processed in which level, so that I hope this helps the artist to understand what's actually going on when you are processing the assets. So this is so when I open the asset bundle, asset graph, this is how it looks. So and then the graph works from the left to right. And then and it has some processes going on inside here, and the basic principle of these graphs are in 3 levels. So one is a loading, and then you group up or split, then you do something. That's roughly saying the 3 stages. And loadings, that there is a node called the loader, and then you use the loader to load the asset. And loading actually doesn't really load the asset into the memory, but it finds the asset inside your project, and then grab all the necessary information to pass into the other nodes, such as like what type of the asset, what type of the asset is that file, and also like where it is, and that kind of things. And also, you in order to process these assets, you want to split up the group, or you want to group up. So these 2 nodes that help you to create the groups that you want to work with. Then at last, you pass it to a node such as like modifier or bundle configurator to create the configuration for asset bundles, or like modify the assets using that groups. So the grouping look like this, and you can group the assets in multiple ways. You can use the name or file pass match, and you can group files per file, so that you have like individual groups per files. Or you can also do the grouping by asset size. And when you group it up, you have these list view. You can see the name of groups and like a number of assets and the estimated size. The estimate is not really accurate, but it's basically taking the source asset size. And then when you click the group, you see the list of assets underneath, and see what's what kind of assets included in the group. And also the filtering is the opposite of the grouping. So when you're grouping up things, that you are putting all the assets together, but sometimes you want to split the assets into several groups. For example, you only want to take out the materials out of groups, things like that. And in order to do this, there's a filtering node you can use. And this split the group in with condition, and then the default feature for splitting is the name pass convention based, and also you can select the type of asset. So you can easily say I'm only interested in textures. But this filtering you can extend in the way that you want to with very simple custom script. So you can say you can extend this to I want the texture with alpha, and I only want a texture with alpha, and you have your custom filter. You can add this and get the texture only with alpha. Okay, so let's get into the actual demo. Okay, so the first example I want to show is how you work with the import settings. So I have these beautiful props, chairs and bed in my scene, and in my production I have a set of rules in my texture that artists have to follow, like how you name the textures. So if I go to if I go to these props and select, so I have a rule that to name the texture like this, and for example that those under A is for albedo, and under AO is for the occlusion, under M for the metallic, and I have a custom mask texture, and I have under N for the normal. And sometimes what you have to do, or what you have to ask for the artist, is that when the artist put these assets into Unity, you have to select select the type of textures and like size of textures so that the asset looks correctly. But you want to automate this because you don't want to ask artist to do all the configuration for like each import settings. Okay, so how do you do this in asset graph? In order to work with asset graph, what I do first is select the open graph editor, and I have these graph editor right here. Let's talk this right here, and I have already set some rules such as this. So this is my rule of the asset graph. So I am loading all the assets from the props folder right here, and in order to load this is pretty easy. Just drag and drop the folder, and you get the loader node, and just connect. Then you get all the files under this folder. So if I click this edge right here, I will see. In the inspector, I will see all the groups right here, and default group is named 0, and under this group 0, I have a bunch of asset right here. So actually, I'm blocking. So. And if you double click, you get the location of the assets in the project, so that you know that where it's coming from. Okay, so I have set my rules in filter just like this so in the name, and I set this that I am only interested in textures, and the name with underbar A, and name with underbar AO, and name with underbar M. So these are my production rules, and then I connect this output of this filter into the node called the modify override import setting. So in order to create the override import setting, you select here modify asset, and if you select the override import setting, then you have these nodes that you can override import setting. So for this time, I want to work with texture, so I select the texture right here. Then I get a whole bunch of texture import setting right here. So then these filters are now working properly. So the output of these filters, if I click, I only have these textures with a name underbar A for albedo, and so does for occlusion, so does for occlusion, so does for mask, and that's how it works. Okay, so let's add normals here. So how do I add normals as new rules? So what I'm doing is that I'm pressing plus here, and I'm selecting the texture as an type. And what I am interested in is the normal texture, which is underbar n. So I type underbar n, and then let's use this new override import setting for the normal. So let's name this to the normal. Normal. Okay, and connect this right here. So I get so it looks like I get all the normal textures right. So let's set the texture import setting to normal, and say like I have hard memory budget, so I'm just like making it small to like 512 and apply. So this this node, this graph is now ready to go. So I press build, and this applies all the necessary import setting to these assets that get into the node. So let's get right here and click the node and see if this is set to the normal map. Yeah, it's set to the normal map, and the max size is changed. So if I have my a different set of rules that I want to apply, say like I have more budget, so let's say like I have 2048, and then and I want to make the wrap mode to clamp, and then click here. It will apply, and then what I get is yes, I'm getting this the max size updated. Okay, so this is good, but do I have to press build every time? Like, I want to make this work automatically so that the artist doesn't have to bother whatsoever. In order to do that, there's a button right here called the user's post processor, and if I click here, this graph works as a post processor. So so if I say I have these props folder right here, and let's say I add some additional assets right here. Okay, so I have these coffee table textures. I have coffee table assets. So let's drag and drop right here. And when I get all the textures going in, I have these coffee table assets already picked up by the graph. And if I go here, it's already set up, as a normal map with max size. So these configurations are already applied. So you can be very consistent, and also you don't have to ask artists to say like, please set the texture setting to this and that. So so this is the one way to automate. Okay, so let's move on to the next example. Okay, so what I want to do, in my production is that I have okay, so I have these dragons, which is nicely set up, so that I want to use this as a player character. But in my game, I need a bunch of variation of this dragon. And in order to make this variation of this dragon prefab, what I have to do at least is that I have to create another material which represents the variation, and also create another prefab, the individual prefab, so that my game developer, my game designer can use. And if I click here as a material, so this is my material, and I have these color variations, and I want to create the prefabs that corresponds to these the variations of textures. And I want to tell artists that, like, if you create the additional variation of textures, like, everything's being taken care of automatically. So let's try to do that. So this time what I want to so this time you can do it with graph like this. Okay, so let's recreate this graph. So what I want to do here is all my textures are in this folder. So my artist is saving up my textures right here. So I'm dragging this in to my graph. And what I use here it's called the generate asset. So I can generate asset from the incoming asset. And in my generator, I add generator, and I can select the generator I wrote, which is the custom script, but it's very simple script. And in my generator script, that I use the reference material and changes the one of the property name, which is the albedo texture. So I'm selecting reference texture. This is a texture. This is a material that I want to replicate. And what I'm interested in this texture is this albedo, and this albedo is if I say edit shader, this albedo is under the main text. So this is a property I'm modifying in order to create generating. So I'm typing up main text. Okay, and I want to save this. I want to save this in this folder right here. Okay, so if I press build, so I have a bunch of these textures coming in, and then if I click here right here, so I have a bunch of materials already set up, being created. And this generator script is very simple. And you can always create the generator script by selecting menu, the create node script, and select the asset generator script. And it gives you the scaffolding script that you can start working with. And then showing the code in this space is pretty tough. But what it basically does is that you get the several functions, and one you want to work with is the function called can create asset, and they give you the reference to asset. Then you say, like, I'm only interested in textures, so that if the asset type is not the textures, like, I'm not gonna be able to generate. And also this generate asset is the other function that you want to write, which is this long. And in this my example, that I'm loading the texture 2D from the assets, and then I create the scale texture by making the scaling, and then save it to and save the file to the path that is suggested. So basically that's the only thing that you do, and then the system, the asset graph, will take care of the rest. So it's very simple script. Okay, so so now I have materials. So now I have materials. So what I want to do is that I want to create the prefabs. So the next node that I want to use is the create prefabs from group. So this is the node that takes the group and create the prefabs with it. And again, this time that I'm writing the very simple custom script called build simple Drago, which is also the script you can create from here. Say create the prefab builder script. And this one again, it's pretty much the same setup. That it gives you the list of objects, and you can will take a look that these objects are good enough for building the prefabs, and if they're good, this create prefab function will be get called, and what you want to do is create the game object and return the game object, and the rest the asset graph will make it to the prefab asset for you. So this time I created the this simple prefab builder called the build simple Drago, which takes the reference prefab as in the original prefab setup and basically copies it, but replace the materials of the renderer with incoming the asset. So what I want to do here is that I click here and then so I select the reference of game object. And then when I look at this reference object, this Tiger Drago simple game object, this one is the one have the renderer which I want to replace the material with. So I am copying this here, and then I am telling my prefab builder that this is the game object I want to replace, I want to modify. And when I connect this output of the generator, this gives me all the generated materials, but this prefab builder is actually now complaining and says that too many assets are passed to the build simple Drago. So what this means is that I have forgot to split up my asset into each groups. So my prefab builder is expecting only one material to create the prefab. So I need to make a group. Okay, so let's make group, and then so I want to make the group with this naming. So I pass this to this grouping node, and if I look at my assets right here, all my assets are named saved under this like simple slash something. So I want to take this file name of the material as a group name. So so let's say to set my pattern as a simple something dot material. Okay, how does this work? And if I connect the output, I have this 5.5 means the 5 group with 5 assets. So I have these groups, 5 groups with each like exactly 1 asset. Then I can then finally I want to make sure that like I want to save this prefab under this prefab simple. Okay, and let's click build, and this will automatically create the prefabs for you. And let's go here and see the result. So I got these 5 prefabs generated from the textures. Okay, so and if I click this as I use as a post processor, and then let's see how it works with all the workflow. And then so I want to open up this texture and pretend that I am artist. And let's change my texture color to something like this, some like weird color. And let's say I'm saving this as my 6th variation. And let's go back. Let's get so the texture get imported, but also if I go to the prefabs right here, I already have the 6 variation of the prefabs set up and ready for use. Just drag and drop, and I can use it. Okay, so the last example that I want to show you is that, okay, so I have these variations already set up at I want to make sure that I want to have one scene, that I am placing these, into scenes so that I can just, look through all the prefabs, and then I can instantly test if the each prefabs work right. So yeah, you can just keep drag and drop, but that's not the way we want to work. So let's work with scene and say if I can place these prefabs into the scene directly. Okay, so in order to do that, let's create some game object that holds a position, and let's make it to the. Let's say this is a variations, and then I'll just put that to the origin. And so the next, so I want to create the node that does the automatic layout for me. So for this time, so let's recreate this node. Can do it, which can edit the scene. So if I go to, so what I want to do is that I want to drag and drop the scene folder, because this is the folder that has my my scene for us putting the. And what I want to do is that I'm now only interested in scene, which is named this dragons. So let's add filter right here. Let's add filter right here and say I'm only interested in scene, which names dragons. Okay, and I want to modify this scene, and this time the scene doesn't have the import settings, and this time I want to modify the asset directly. So the node that I'm using is this node called the modify asset directly. Yeah, and connect this right here. So before going on, that I can make sure that okay, so I'm only picking up this the dragon node scene. Okay, and say layout dragons, and if you click this asset type, you have that this time that what I want to work with is scene asset, and if I click if I select the scene asset, I have a bunch of modifiers in my project that I can use with. So I wrote this a very small custom script called the layout game object. So I'm selecting this. It's the same way that you can create these modifier scripts right here. You can just create the modifier and work and start writing the code that to modify the assets in certain type. So this time, what I want to do is that I want to place all the prefabs under the this variations game object that I just added, and I want to make the margins of each dragons to 1. Okay, so this one. So now I'm ready to modify the scene, but I also want to have the dragons as an input. So let's go to the prefab folder right here, and just grab this, connect this. So I have these 6 these 6 dragons. Okay, so let's try building. Press build. Variations. Oh no, nope, no, it's not working. Maybe I have to save scene first. Save scene. Okay, so and let's no, I'm not executing. Sorry. So let's press build. Okay, now if I go to the scene again. Okay, so I have these prefabs automatically generated, nicely getting layout. So if I go back to the textures right here, and usual, 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 and create the different variations. Say these, save as a 7th variation. Go back. Then if I do the layout again, I have the 7th variations. So now my workflow is very smooth, and then I can just start playing my scenes. I don't have to do a lot of these layouting and these repetitive work that you might have to do during the production, from the texture importing to creating these derivative assets, to editing the scene, to do the necessary things done. Okay, so the asset graph is available at the Bitbucket. We're doing our best to bring it to the asset store, and the version that I showed you today is the development versions, which is the branch in the dev branch. But the 1.3 is a stable version, and you can do pretty much the same thing. And then this tool is built for 2017.1 or plus, but they also work with the older version of Unity. And that's it. Thank you. So I'll be here around. I believe that this will go to the next session. So I'll be here around. So if you have any questions, please grab me and ask.